Welcome to the Sam and Ray podcast. I'm Sam.
And I'm Ray.
And we mentioned it last week, the Murdaugh trials, and he was found guilty. Shocker. But also, I think people need to do a background on Buster because he looks just as guilty.
Yeah.
He's a freak. But doing the Murdaugh trials actually sent me down a rabbit hole of other documentaries that I had watched. If you guys haven't seen the Lorena Bobbitt one on Netflix, no. Prime, Amazon Prime Video, whatever. It's called Lorena. If you don't know who Lorena Bobbitt is, she chopped off her husband's penis, and it was warranted.
Interesting.
Yeah. But anyways,
okay.
I just wanted to throw that out there. You should watch it.
In other news,
my week's been good since the last time we did a podcast. How was your week?
it was cool.
Cool?
Yeah, just chill.
Chilling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same old.
I feel like I haven't had any really like big events happening in my life. That makes me kind of sad.
But,
I'm fucking bored.
But then you stay away from events too.
You know what? You don't have to put you don't have to put me on blast like that. I am an introvert at sometimes.
It's not like you don't get invited places. You just don't
go.
You don't go. And then you don't have your car.
I don't have my car. So don't make it seem like, oh, she just didn't want to go because she just didn't want to. If I had my car, I would totally go.
So when she gets her car back, go ahead and invite her anywhere.
Invite me everywhere. But go ahead and invite me. I'm not gonna put boundaries.
We'll see.
Here's a list of places not to invite me because I don't want to go. I get anxiety.
I don't know why. It's not like it's people you don't know inviting you. Like, just fucking go.
I know. But it also gives me anxiety if they're like, oh, bring the kids. I'm like, do I have to?
Yes.
I don't want to.
Oh, wow. You can't have your cake and eat it too, homie. You got to fucking just go with it. Go with the flow shit. The thing is, you overthink. There's no fucking point in overthinking anything. Just do what you're going to do. I don't see why you overthink. You start creating scenarios that haven't even happened.
Or probably won't happen.
Well,
thank you for describing my entire life and why I'm on medication. Like, that's duh. Kind of like when I went to go see a therapist.
Oh, that old white guy.
Oh my God. He had me do an exercise. Okay. And first of all, this is the beginning of like my anxiety and depression. And I'm very paranoid. And it's just me and this old man in this tiny little room. He's trying to make me do this exercise. And he was like, okay, now close your eyes. And I was like very hesitant. And I was like, okay. So I closed my eyes. He's like, what do you feel? I was like, I feel anxious and I'm afraid. He was like, what are you afraid of? I was like, that I'm going to be attacked. And he was like, we are the only people in here. I was like, yeah, I know. And he was like, you're just paranoid. I was like, that's why I'm here. Like, thanks for telling me that, Captain fucking Obvious.
I don't know.
You're paranoid. What shit?
I don't know how you go see a psychiatrist when you're married to me.
That's why I see a psychiatrist because I was married. Well, we weren't married yet.
No, I think just in general, like I've come to like I've done my own research of things in the sense of like I didn't fucking pay thousands of dollars to fucking go to school to learn shit, but through my life experiences, I've always questioned like the contrary to something. Like if this is what was going on, then what would have happened if I would have went about it this way? And then I go down that rabbit hole of, all right, let me figure this shit out. That's why when you say, oh, you're always right, or you think you're always right, you don't like that shit. But the only reason why
who likes that?
A lot of people like that.
That's annoying.
It's annoying to you.
It's annoying. Okay, who wants somebody in their life who always thinks they're right, but in your heart you're like, just shut the fuck up. You're wrong.
No, I'm not.
Because I'm gonna believe what I want to believe.
Okay, see,
and leave me alone.
But see, and that becomes an issue though.
I don't have to believe anything you say.
So if you're doing the same thing I'm doing, but in a worse manner, because you think I think I'm always right, but instead of just acknowledging that in the situations that I have been right in, you want to just say, I want to believe what I want to believe in because you don't want to be wrong. It's the same thing. I'm talking about in life. I'm not talking about like a tent being in the middle of the living room.
He came on, he was like, When did that get here? It's a little tent that we have for Kara. I was like, it's been there. He's like, no, it wasn't. I was
No,
like, yeah,
I
it
know
was.
it existed. I didn't know it was in that
He was
spot
like, it wasn't in that spot when I left. I was like, yes, it was. No. And I was like, ooh,
Okay,
the ghost
but
moved it.
We're talking about something like this. We're not. I'm
But do you see how he's always trying to be right, even with the fucking tent? It wasn't there before. Yes, it was, homie.
And are you not trying to be right by trying to put out an example of something that's really not that relevant?
It
to
is
anything?
relevant because then you're gaslighting me, telling me that it wasn't there before.
I don't know why you're turning your microphone that way.
I know. I feel like people can see me.
No
you
one
see
can
me
see you.
pointing to the
Nobody can
tent.
see you.
You know what? We're gonna need a
But
fucking camera in here.
But do you get what I'm saying? It's just like it. Look, the truth is fucking scary, and when people don't want to really hear the truth, they tend to come up with that excuse of, let me believe what I want to believe. Well, you can. No one's saying you can't believe what you want to believe, but you also have to hear what the other side of it is. Because at the end of the day, believing what you want to believe, whether it's right or wrong, and most of the times, if it's wrong, you're just becoming in denial, and then you end up being those people that just, well, I didn't think that would ever happen. Yeah. I'm pretty sure everybody thought that was going to happen. You know what I mean? Like.
But speaking about the truth being scary, I don't know why lately I was thinking like, if I had a superpower, what would it be? And I would want to know the truth of everything. But then that gets kind of scary. Can you handle it?
Can you handle the truth?
And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll have some boundaries on that. Like, I don't want to know.
Just don't tell me.
Yeah, like, I don't want to know if there's aliens out there. That would scare me. Like, no, I don't want to know. But I do want to know, like, the truth of, like, because you know how people, okay, like trials. There's two sides to every story, and then there's the truth. Give me the fucking truth. I want to know what it is. But I don't know if I'm strong enough to handle it. And also, I'm a chismosa, so I'd be like, oh my God, guess what I just found out? Because I know the truth. But I'd also like to to teleport because I don't have a car.
Would you be satisfied with the truth, or would you create your own? Like because you never know, people could be telling you the truth, but because you overthink everything, you might be creating a scenario in your head that's not even what they're telling you about.
Well, I don't trust everybody, so I'm always thinking like they're lying.
Well, so then what would be the point of wanting to know the truth of everything?
Oh, you're saying like
your superpower.
when I have it. Where the fuck was I when you were talking right now?
I'm trying to figure out where you were talking because you're the one who said it. You mentioned it.
I did, but I thought you meant like without the superpower. Like
we never moved on from the superpower. We never started a whole.
Maybe I just took it. Maybe I took it different than what you meant. But anyways, what would your superpower be?
I don't know.
Are you just too mature to think like that? I'm at work like, if I had a superpower, I'd get my ass out of
here. I don't have time to think like that.
La-di fucking da. How do you not have time? Everybody has the same amount of time during the day. You're telling me that when you're working or doing whatever, even if you're talking to somebody, you're not thinking of something else?
We all have the same amount of time, but we don't all occupy the same amount of time.
Because I'm stupid.
No, I'm not just saying that.
Because you're dumb.
It's not my fault that your job is chill. For one location, because they got all their shit straight. So it's like
for real. When I'm there, I'm just like,
But
yeah.
No, I don't know. I've never thought, I have a superpower.
Boring. God. Remember when you used to be fun and we'd have these hypotheticals like, what if we didn't have thumbs?
What if we didn't have thumbs?
How would we pick it up? And he'd be at fucking Denny's with me, pretending not to have thumbs, picking up like cups and bottles and seeing if he can open up shit. Now he's like, I don't have time for that childish shit.
First of all, I didn't say childish shit. I just said
I know that's what you're thinking.
How do you know that's what I'm thinking?
Because you're boring.
That doesn't make sense. See,
I'm right and you're wrong.
You see what I'm saying? That's what happens when you're like, I wouldn't say, I don't know,
mentally unstable.
No, I just don't. There's people who are used to being spoken to in a certain way, and I think it affects their relationships, right? So,
I expect you to respect me.
So what I'm saying...
No, I'm not.
So what I'm saying is, and you notice you're being uncomfortable because I'm going to tell you something that you know is very true. So I think what happens is when you live your whole life and people like beat around the bush instead of being direct, a lot of things insult you when someone speaks to you, right? Because or that you take it in a manner like if I'm talking to you like this, you would turn around and say, "Why are you yelling at me?" It's like, wait a minute, my voice is really calm right now. Why would you assume that I'm yelling at you? But it's because of the fact that someone is speaking direct as opposed to someone beating around the bush. You know what I mean? And I think that is the reason why sometimes you think that I'm being a certain way or I'm portraying something when it's just like I'm a very just direct person. You get what you see. I don't hide nothing. Like I'm not saying, "Hey, I'm the smartest person." You never heard me say I'm the smartest person.
But if I'm direct, you get like, no, you're wrong.
You think so?
Yes, I think so.
About what?
I haven't just met
When
you.
are you-
Just anything.
When
Nope.
when have you been
And
direct?
you cut me off too. Nope.
Oh no, that's because I'm being
Nope.
like you, and then I gotta do the hand thing that you do because then you know. So I know like the stages of when you're about
Here
to
we
like.
go. I'm better than everybody.
You are.
Not me. I mean, I am. I'm better than you.
See, I
that's for sure.
complimented you, and you're over here insulting yourself. That doesn't make sense.
Hey, listen.
But do you get what
I
I'm saying?
insult myself before anybody else could do it to hurt my feelings. I hurt my own feelings.
But do you get what I'm saying? I just told you a truth. And instead of actually acknowledging that truth, and we've had this conversation before, growing up, you never heard people speak direct to you. It was always a
No one spoke to me.
it was always like a.
They're like, oh shit, we have another kid? That's my bad.
It was always a beat around the bush type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one said things directly, and I've noticed that a lot of people don't speak direct. They don't say what they want to say to the person they need to say it to. A lot of times they go say things, and it kind of goes back to like those posts that I would read on Facebook, and people be like, "Oh, I think it's funny when."
Yeah.
Like, why don't you just tell the person that you were irritated by that instead of trying to tell everybody on Facebook about the one issue you have about the one person about a one situation,
and then you say,
and then
you comment, that wasn't for you. That was just for me. Well, then put it on private because now I want to know why you posted
right, or just don't post it. Just fucking write it in a journal. Like, I wonder, do people still write in journals? And I know Ricky Lee's probably gonna end up listening to this, and I know she writes a lot, but I think like things like that. You think people should start separating? Like, all right, we already know like social media is social media,
Mm-hmm.
and people are just gonna show you the good shit on social media, right?
Of course.
But then there's always those dramatic people that want to, I think it's funny when, or wow, you know what I mean? They start going on like on a tangent of just,
I'm in the hospital. Don't ask questions.
You know what I
then
mean?
why fucking post it?
But it's like, why don't you like write a journal for that shit? Like, I don't care about what, I don't care what you think is funny when, like that shit. Like, because if we're gonna be honest, I think it's funny that you can't tell someone the truth about how you feel about them in their face, where you have to go on social media and you have to blast them, but you're not being direct, you're being indirect. So that if they were to ever approach you, you try to set it up so they can't approach you and ask you what's going on. It's almost like bullying, but not being direct about it. Where sometimes I guess you got to give bullies credit for being direct. You know what I mean?
Punch you straight in the face.
Like, I got a problem with you. Pop. You know what I mean? To where other people are trying to bully other people on social media, but they're not being direct about it.
Speaking about bullying on social media, Hailey Bieber needs to get it together and leave my Selena Gomez alone. That's the end of what I'm going to say.
I don't know nothing about any of that.
No. Hailey Bieber's just a dumb broad. But what was I going to say?
I don't know.
You kept talking and talking. Now I can't remember. Fuck. I really can't remember
Hold
what I
on.
was going to say.
Let me lock myself back into the room of not being honest.
Yes. Shut up. Stop talking. Thank you, Dr. Raymond, for coming on the show today and
See, that's
analyzing everybody.
that was my point. Why go to fucking see? And I'm not saying nobody.
No, I ended up firing him after like 3 sessions.
I know I was the one that was taking you.
Yeah. And I would come out of there like
But
completely worse than before.
But what I'm saying is, and this is why I'm saying when you say that,
Hey, but if you guys are seeing therapists and psychiatrists, that's okay. That's fine. I just wanted to get that out there before he continued talking.
Well, see, she didn't want to let me talk, and I wasn't even there yet. So,
okay.
What I was saying,
I don't want you to put a negative connotation on that.
This is, we don't give a fuck around here.
I do.
This is what I'm saying.
I have a heart.
I think you have to go through all the processes before you get there. You can't just go straight to it. Like, if my ass, and you always say, oh, well, you think I don't think I'm smart. I think I put in the effort to try to figure things out. And if that makes me smarter than other people, then so be it. Don't be afraid of me putting in effort, because it's going to show that you can't. You know
I didn't
what I mean?
say you were smart. I said you thought you were smart.
But anyways, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm kidding. You are smart.
There goes your Chandler being awkwardness. So, because I don't think I'm that smart, but
I think you're smart.
I don't think I'm that smart, but what I can tell you is, if I could figure this out, so can you.
Yeah.
The only difference is you have to put in the effort. Because what's going to end up happening is if you don't put in the effort to figure it out on your own, and you go directly to someone, because
hey, it had been going on for a long time before I finally went.
But okay, so this is what I ask. How long through that entire time did you try to figure it out on your own? Like, literally sit down and break yourself down. Because in order to do that, it gets really uncomfortable, and I know how you are in uncomfortable situations. Mm-hmm. You start acting like as you are right now. So what ends up happening, and this is just from my own self-reflection, because there's times where I have been literally in the dark, just like, remember, there's a long time when you're like, man, do you not sleep? Like, no, not really, because I do. Like, the nights that I can't sleep, that's what I'm thinking about. Like, why did this situation pan out that way? Why did that situation pan out that way? When I look back at even the times when you and I were both unemployed and we had Josh, those nights I really didn't sleep. It wasn't just like, oh, I'll figure it out in the morning. Like, there was no fucking time for me to figure it out. I had to weigh options. I had to figure shit out. And when I was down on myself, I had to be like, all right, that's enough. I can't sit there and dwell on the pain when there's nothing going to come of it other than more pain. Mm-hmm. So I ended up having to do things like that. And so what I'm saying is, I'm not saying nobody, because my wife likes to create scenarios.
I'm just saying.
I'm not saying that you shouldn't go see anybody. What I'm saying is, you have to exhaust all options before you go see that person. You have to figure out yourself and try to figure out everything you can, or at least try to, before you go see somebody.
But see, there's a difference, though. You knew the situations that were going on that were making you feel this way, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. That's the thing. Everybody seems to think that to have anxiety and depression, something had to happen at that point in your life where it's giving you anxiety and depression. I just one day woke up and I didn't feel right. And I don't know why. There was never a situation at that moment in my life where it was like, oh my God, this is what's making me feel this way, all this stuff. And it just, I think that when you don't have a tangible thing of what's making you feel that way, it makes you go even crazier, because you do sit there and you do try to think like, okay, what's causing me to feel this way? Why is this happening? All this stuff. And that's what makes it all go black, basically.
Well, see, and that's why I'm asking, though, or this is why I'm saying, like, you have to exhaust all your options first.
Dude, before I had even mentioned it to anybody, because the first person I ever mentioned it to was my mom. And it was because for weeks I couldn't understand why I was having such like this guilty, heavy feeling in my heart over something that I didn't know what I was feeling it for, you know? So in my mind, because I'm trying to think like, okay, well, what is going on? Why does my heart feel this way? Why do I feel so sad? And unfortunately your brain and your heart don't connect. Your heart's feeling one thing and your brain's trying to be logical, but it's like, could you guys please get together and be logical together? But it doesn't work that way. So I waited weeks before I said anything to anyone. And then it kind of just kept getting worse.
I don't think you have to tell anybody but yourself. Is what I'm saying.
I felt like I had to, because I felt like I finally had to tell somebody, because if I didn't, I felt like I was literally gonna go nuts.
Because I do remember like times where I would tell you like that's not you,
Mm-hmm.
right? But those are circumstances too, and this is why I say from experience. Like my experience isn't just with me. My experience of going through a lot of the shit we went through was through you. So a lot of when I say like I would sit down and I would research and I would figure things out, it was because of you. It wasn't just because of me. So don't get this notion of, oh, like you're just being a selfish dick. No, my wife or girlfriend at that time was going through something and I could see what it was doing. But I could also see that you weren't ready to talk to anybody about it, in the sense of going to go see a shrink or however you want to call them, because they have different names.
Yeah.
And for I don't know why though. They all do they don't all do the same thing.
I don't know.
But
I honestly don't know.
But I would remember like we would have those long nights where we would just talk about shit like that, and I would always tell you like that's not you, and you got to understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And I understood what you were saying as far as, well, it's not that easy. I know it's not that easy. One thing I would always tell you is you got to understand that you're not the only one going through it, because
That doesn't help.
Okay, but even to you, it may not help, but that's because you're stuck in your situation, not realizing that I was going through it too. Not going through your situation, but going through my own situation. Mm-hmm. And you got to realize, like, how many times have you been blind to my depression in that aspect, because you were going through your depression. Mm-hmm. So when I say I researched this shit, it would, like, again, it goes back to because you were going through shit. But at the same time, when I was going through the same shit, I was going through that shit and trying to figure out why you're going through it at the same time.
Wait, were you going through it at the same time?
Yeah, but I can't tell you. I could never tell you, that's one of those things where if you go back to how we started this episode, you always think I'm right. So who do I talk to if I always think I'm right? If that's your perception of me, am I going to tell? Because do you believe me, or do you think I'm mocking you? Because you get awkward in certain situations, so I can't tell anybody anything. I can't tell people when I go through the things that I go through. Mm-hmm. Because and that's why I say I don't have time to think about my superpower, because because at the end of the day, I got to make sure you get to work. I got to make sure the kids get to school. I got to make sure you get to your new location. I got to make sure that if I got a day where I got to do Twitch or I got to do something for either one of our podcasts, mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? Like, my time is always filled with something to do. Yeah. I don't have that type of time. When we were sit at Denny's and try to figure out how to fucking not use our thumbs, I didn't have what I have on my plate now. Mm-hmm. So that's not for me to say that I'm better than you. That's just letting you know that's not where I'm at anymore. And I would love to fucking go back and be like, hey, this is funny. Or we went to Long Beach on Sunday, myself, Ricky, and Severe. And we passed by that 24-hour fucking subway.
Oh, that was fun.
That me and you years ago were like, man, I wonder if there's ever a 24-hour subway. And we found it, and it was just one fucking 24-hour subway all the way in Long Beach, and we drove all the way out there, mm-hmm. and then we kicked it by the Queen Mary that night. Uh-huh. But I don't have that type of time anymore. You get what I'm saying? So it has nothing to do with me being better than anybody. That's just where I'm at now. Yeah. So going back to when I go through the shit that I go through, I don't even have the time to sit there and explain it to people, because some people may not see it as me going through something, or they can't believe it. So now they're going through this thought process of, damn, this fool was depressed. Oh, damn, he's really going through this shit. Because the whole time I'm trying to figure out how to have everybody else okay. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to make sure that you're okay. I'm trying to make sure that the kids are okay. I'm trying to make sure that the friends and the people that I consider family around me are okay. Mm-hmm. So for me to have to sit here and tell you I was depressed when you were depressed, and I was going through the shit that you were going through with you plus my shit, and I was sitting at night trying to figure this shit out. You can't believe it because you were at that moment, and even now are thinking about what you're going through.
Damn, that makes me seem selfish.
That's everybody though, and I could tell you 1,000% that's most men. Men don't get the option to be able to tell someone when they're being that vulnerable, right? I'll tell you to a certain point, and you feel like, oh, well, he's opened up to me and he's told me what he has to tell me, but I haven't told you everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Why do men hold it in like that though?
Because we can't. Who's gonna tell? It's one of those.
But I think that's just you guys thinking that you can't tell somebody.
No, that's
something.
society letting us know that we can't be a bitch. In that aspect, that's society telling us you can't have pain, you can't cry, you can't. And I'm not saying like if you cry you're a bitch, but just in general, you can't have weakness. You're a man. The world that you live in is being supported by your back and your shoulder. So the minute you show the slightest amount of pain or the slightest amount of any type of emotion, most women will look at you and be like, stop being a bitch and move on with your life.
Yeah.
But and no offense, but if it's the woman going through it, the man needs to stop what he's doing to make sure that his female counterpart, however you want to be to that person, is okay. And if the man is too into what he's doing to provide and doesn't notice that, what ends up happening is you don't love me no more. You don't care about me anymore. Are you fucking around with other bitches? Like, it becomes so many other levels because the man is so fucking stuck into having to provide or do what he has to do that if he doesn't notice that his significant other is going through something, there's something wrong with him. When you're not realizing he just may not have the fucking time. But
damn, this got real dark.
It's not dark. That's honestly, that's shedding light on life in general. Like, you know what I mean?
This is not where I thought it was going to go today, guys.
Well, this is why we're off tangent. Don't cry. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh my God. Remember that one time we went to San Francisco and you got out of the shower and you didn't remember we're on the second floor and you were butt ass naked and the window was
wide open.
And there was a theater who had windows on the same level. You were just
I think we were on the third
showing your nards to all of San Francisco.
We were doing the helicopter before it was popular on TikTok. You see how I like your awkwardness. Yeah, you had to tell people about my genitals to get people to not. They're like, man, they got serious. Man. But that's life.
That's life.
That's the Sam and Ray podcast. We go off tangent. Sometimes we get serious. Sometimes
I want to cry. I really don't miss those days of. Well, who the fuck missed those days?
Those days were hard. I think a lot of those days too. We fought a lot.
Yeah.
Even like, I think one of the hardest moments or the hardest times, I would say, would have been when you were going through all that on top of your postpartum.
Oh shit, yeah.
And then going through what we were going through with our relationship. And it was just like, I think I was talking to the girls from On This Frequency before one of the shows. I was like, one of the hardest parts for that was that I felt like my back was up against the wall in a lot of situations. And at that time, being as we were young, as young as we were, you put a dog and you corner him, he's just going to fucking bite until he could get out that corner. And I think that's why a lot of times we fought, because I was just like, I was that dog that everybody was just like, like they're in that corner, and I just started biting back at everybody, and it was just a fucking
situation. And then there I was, just kind of trapped in my own prison of my brain, you know? So I'm going to cry. We're not going to talk about it anymore. We're not. Because that was just such a dark time.
But see, I think, and That's why, like at the end of it, we get past that. We get through that tunnel, right? Like, sometimes when you're driving and you go through a tunnel, and there's like certain parts of the tunnel that don't have the light, but you can still see the light at the end of the fucking tunnel. So it's just like, look, I just got to get through that light
For
at
a
the end of
while,
the
I
tunnel.
couldn't see the light at the end of that tunnle.
That happens.
Lights were out.
Now we're here.
Now we're here.
Now
Thank
we're
God.
bullshitting.
Thank you, Jesus.
Talking shit.
Oh yeah,
Talking
yeah.
about my testiculars. Slapping around.
Oh my God, really? I can't.
That hotel fucking sucked.
It did suck.
We almost got locked out.
We did get locked out.
And then when we get into the room at night, because we got there during the day, we're trying to knock out, and all of a sudden you hear and feel fucking elevator. I'm like, man, is that
Right next to it?
and that fucking elevator is gonna tear this whole fucking place down the way it's fucking shaking.
And then outside in the streets are nothing but ambulances and fucking hookers.
Oh yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Yep. Good times, San Francisco.
Good times.
Good times.
That was the first. I think that was the first time we ever seen a concert together.
Yeah.
We ended up seeing Los Lonely Boys.
And I cried through the entire.
That was a dope set because they did everything acoustically.
Yeah, it was really good.
What was it? The Fillmore. So the Fillmore, if anyone ever goes out to San Francisco, the Fillmore is like a really small, intimate venue. So doing any type of electrical instruments is out of the question. But that concert was dope. And there was that one chick that, remember, she played the violin, and she got on stage with them. That was fun. And then our pizza spot that we so happened to end up getting a room next to, like 10 years later.
Exactly.
That was dope.
San Francisco's fun.
Let's
need to go on a
back.
trip.
Take the kids.
Yeah.
And do we have
Do we
to?
have to? Yeah, I guess. I guess we could take them. That's sad, huh?
No, they're getting older. I think Josh is just like, he's chill. He's very complacent in this. Like, he finds his comfort and you can't take him out of it.
Because he's an old man.
Yeah. It's like his dad, I guess.
That's what we said last time. You guys are boring.
We're not boring. Really?
So boring.
I'm boring.
Yes.
I go out.
How am I boring? You go out because you got a car.
Right now. Let's take away the last 2 weeks and then we'll see who's done what in the amount of time.
That's because you put yourself out there.
I'm a whore.
You're a whore.
I'm a social whore. I'm
You really
not.
are.
Because even when I go out, I don't. If I go places, I stick to myself. Like, I turned around when we were at this event that Severe was DJing at on Sunday. He was at the booth DJing, and Ricky is Ricky. She's the social butterfly where she's just like roaming upstairs, downstairs, 10 blocks over. Like, she finds a way to talk to fucking everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just there chilling. Like, hey, what's up, guys? Hey, just like nodding the beard at everybody. Like, hey, I'm over here. Yeah. You.
And if it were me, I would feel like I stick out like a sore thumb. Like, I know I'm not supposed to be there, so everybody knows I'm not supposed to be there. Like, in just any situation.
Most of us ain't supposed to be anywhere where we're at, to be honest. You gotta look at it like, man, we all just somehow found our way here. Even if you paid for a ticket, you're like, somehow I found the website to buy the ticket to this place, and now I'm here. No, it's so weird because when I was younger, I used to always think people were like that high school mentality, the groups. Like, there's the cool person. Like, remember, like last week you were talking about like cheerleaders and like what group were you in? Like,
yeah.
I realized like that shit ain't that much different in real life. And as long as you're just fucking cool, like just be you, give a fuck. And most people, and the people who hate on that are usually the people that they're the ones who try to really be fucking cool. And it's like,
Yeah.
You're a fucking dork. Get out of here.
Who's texting you?
And
And if I had my phone or anything, you'd be saying, "Get off your phone."
first of all, that wasn't my phone. It was my watch, and it was the group chat for On This Frequency.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
We're
It's fine. It's fine. It can happen.
We're talking about the next person we're gonna have on their episode.
Ooh, nice.
But yeah,
Very nice.
what else is on your mind?
I always have a lot of stuff on my mind. Like, who would I be if? Because I even asked you this. Do you ever think about? Oh, well, since I just found out the question, no, you don't think about anything. Do you ever think about who you would be if certain situations didn't happen in your life?
I do, but then I go back to just remembering,
reality.
like we're living our lives the way we're supposed to.
Yeah.
And it sucks because there's some people that if you tell them that, they're like, "Damn, this is how I'm supposed to live." Like
it would just make them sad because they're
Yeah.
not happy with where they're at.
Yeah. And so, but I've thought about, like, I wonder if, like, I grew up a different way. Like, what if we would have stayed in LA?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or what if, like, we could have ended up being just part of, like, the social norm of, like, what LA life is, where we were able to, like, I think we did both in a sense. Like, we went to school out here and did that. But every weekend we went right back to LA to hang out with my grandma and my cousins and uncles. So kind of like the best of both worlds. So when I think about stuff like that, I was like, well, I kind of lived the best of both worlds. I just didn't get to see what Monday through Friday looked like in LA.
Mm-hmm.
I got to see what the worst parts of the week look like in LA on Saturday and Sunday.
I always think, like, if my parents hadn't divorced and we stayed in Fontana and it was just me and Sandy, who would I be? You know what I mean? Because I then, when they did get divorced, I gained a sister and a brother, and then we got my little sister, Millie. So it's just like, who would I be if those people hadn't been in my life? And not like in a negative way. I just wonder, like, who would I be if we were still in the same situation over there?
You know, we've always had that conversation about, like, divorced families and families that are together, right? Because you saying that, I think, like, I don't know everything or much of what your dad and your mom went through and what led to the divorce or anything like that, but I do know that being from a family that isn't divorced, and I hear some of the things that you went through. I went through things similar. The only difference is I couldn't see any of my parents walking out, and I couldn't escape that house either. So it's like we went to bed hearing it. We woke up remembering what happened, like the arguments and shit like that. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's not always, the grass ain't always greener on the other side, you know?
True.
But do you think you would have been more sociable, or do you think you would have been more uptight? Because at the end of the day, maybe the divorce was the best thing for you guys.
I don't know. I think I don't know. That's a good question. I have no idea. I think I'd be less sociable.
Because then you'd have to go and be like, all right. And this is a part that gets kind of like redundant about asking questions like that, is you got to keep going down the line and change everything in order for something for you to change. Because then you would have to say, like, what if they weren't in the situation to have to get divorced and they had a really good marriage? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would assume you would be sociable because your parents had a good marriage.
But what if it wasn't a good marriage and they just stayed?
That's what I'm saying. Like, you had to go down the line and keep breaking it down.
Yeah,
and
you know what?
everything.
Forget it. Because it's kind of like that movie, The Butterfly Effect. If you guys never seen it, watch it. But it's just like everything. He goes back and he changes this, but then when he comes back, like,
you got to keep changing.
You got to. You mess one thing. You mess with one thing. You go back to your future, and everything's changed. So I'm pretty sure in this movie, he ends up having like a daughter or like a child or whatever. He goes back in the past. He comes back, and his daughter's gone. He's like, where? And then he remembers that, you know what I mean? So then he's feeling like that piece of him is missing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know if
Yeah,
I could.
let's not do that. I don't want to do that. I don't
Yeah.
want to do that.
Because
But I think too much, obviously.
you literally would have to go down that and have to change
Yeah.
everything. Because then too, okay, we'll say your parents didn't get divorced,
Uh-huh.
and so then you end up living the life you live. You would never have met me
Uh-huh.
because you would never have lived or worked at Mervin's. Like lived at Mervin's, well,
It,
practically.
it felt like it. It felt like we never fucking left that place.
But you wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and same here. What if we would have never came from LA? I would have been in LA, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we would have never met each other. We'd never have had our kids.
Oh,
We would
my
never,
babies.
you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you think about it, and you're like, man, all the bad shit. You're like, well, at least that didn't happen. That wouldn't have happened. But then at the end of the day, like you still need the bad shit to happen in order for us to experience the good shit together. So it's kind of, I don't know. Count your blessings, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
Even if they don't seem like blessings.
Yeah.
What else? What you got? You got a quote there?
So I do have a quote because I wanted to go back to what you said, where, you're living the life you're meant to, and how people think like, oh, this is the life I was meant to live.
Mhm.
They're not happy about it. But Big Brother Jake had posted something.
Shout out to Big Brother Jake,
yeah.
by the way. If you're
Um,
not following the Big Brother Jake podcast, please do. That man has some funny shit to say. And another person without a filter.
he posted, you feel unsettled because you know you are meant for more. And it's just like, if you're not happy and you feel unsettled and you're like, oh shit, this is my life, then obviously,
Yeah, you got to do something about it.
yeah, obvious, and I always feel unsettled.
We've had those convos.
Yeah.
Even like career wise, like where you always question yourself, and I always tell you,
Mhm.
like, look, you don't get to where you want to be by waiting for someone to put you there.
Yeah.
You gotta fucking just do it. Like, you didn't like being in the retail business,
God, I hated it.
and I would always tell you, like, well, what are you doing to get out of there?
I was going to school.
But what else were you doing? Because you were going to school, but there's a lot of people that go to school but still put themselves in that position.
Yeah.
You became complacent, which makes you feel unsettled because, well, if I leave my job, what if I don't get another job that wants to work on my school schedule?
Mhm.
Those are all just fucking excuses. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that was one of those things we would always talk about. Like, if I wouldn't have made that leap to just be like, fuck it, I'm going to barber school,
Yeah.
as much as it fucking sucked, we still had something had, like, Ricky says it a lot, like a drastic change or drastic measures have to happen for change to occur. So if you keep trying to change little things here and there, you're not gonna see
Yeah.
the change. Like, if the sign tells you to go right and everything keeps telling you to go a certain direction, you're not gonna see nothing different unless you actually go left. And we're not talking politics, by the way. People don't.
Oh, yeah, don't.
For
No.
right, for left. Fuck out of here with that nonsense. None of them care about us.
Oh, by the way, the guy who got his penis cut off, John Benet Ramsey.
Dude, isn't that a girl?
Dude, what the fuck is wrong with me? No, his name was John Wayne Bobbitt, by the way, but his license plate said Trump on it. And I was like, you deserve to get I'm
That
just
guy-
kidding. I'm kidding. If
That
you
guy's first of all, your fucking last name was Bobbitt. I'm fucking with your life, your whole life. Like,
yeah. But yeah, no,
Hey,
that
come
that
here,
just
Bobbitt.
you bringing up the politics thing just reminded me of that, because everything, like his car had a license plate that said Trump on it. His motorcycle had a license plate that said Trump or something. Yeah. But no, yeah, taking a leap is definitely hard for me because and I still regret it to this day. Was going to school to become an interpreter. And I finally got into the program, but it was like having another job. So I was going to quit Marshall's, and I felt guilty quitting because we had just had Kara. So I quit the program instead because I'm a moron.
Yeah, wow.
And I still regret it to this day.
But things happen for a reason. I mean, you can always it's something being able to do sign language and being able to communicate in any other type of language other than your native language is always a plus. And I think especially for sign language, like we always see those cool ass videos of people like performing at concerts.
Yeah.
You know, those are always cool, but at the same time it's like it's a different world for deaf people
Yes.
to be in our world,
Mm-hmm.
right? So how many times, like, if you go somewhere and you're like, fuck, like you don't understand Spanish that well,
No, I
right?
wish I did.
So if you go somewhere, you're like, damn, they only speak Spanish here, like you would get uncomfortable.
Uh-huh.
So that would be like the same thing that a deaf person goes through.
Not necessarily, because I think deaf people already know that not a lot of people know sign language.
But
so they carry like a pen and paper, and then some of them like know,
but what
like can read lips and
but
stuff
what
like
I'm
that.
saying is there's that comfort of knowing that you don't have to pull out that pen and paper. You don't have to.
Yeah.
So for you to have a skill that allows you to make someone else feel comfortable for their life, like that's fucking dope. Because there's been a couple times where like even at the shop, and I'd have like a deaf kid, and the mom or the dad like has to let me know what's going on. And I always ask the mom and dad anyways, you know, like how do they want their hair cut and this and that.
Yeah.
But I think it instills some type of confidence in order for that person to be able to communicate that on their own. So there's been times where I'm like, man, I wish Samantha would have just taught me this, or I should just have accepted when she would want to teach me
Yes.
this.
See, nobody want. They're like,
But-
oh my god. I'm like, okay, well then forget it.
But you get what I'm saying? Like you don't have to learn something just because it's gonna make you money. And
Yeah.
I think that's like one of the biggest misconceptions that our parents' generation have.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to like that the time I had mentioned, like one of the biggest insults is to ask someone how much money they make doing something that they love. Like if they love doing what they're doing, what does it matter if they fucking are making money off of it? You already are in your career. So if you wanted to go back to do the interpreting program, there's really no pressure.
No, there's not.
Because I think at the time when you were doing it, there's like
So much pressure
yeah.
to get into this job or that job and all these things. And I remember someone saying, oh my God, so-and-so got a job at Disneyland interpreting for this. And I was just like, damn, that's really good, you know? And it was just, I think there was just a lot of competition. There was in every fucking program you're in, there's a lot of competition.
In any, and it doesn't matter what
It doesn't matter what it is. It's just so much competition. And I think that's why sometimes I felt out of place.
But I think people will always try to tell you how to do what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody always has a fucking, like, oh, do this or do that. Like, even now, like, I get people, like, when they'll oh, like, you do this, like, oh, that's like your side thing. It's like, no, like, everything I do is pretty equivalent financially in its own regard. Like, I make money doing what I do. That doesn't, but because what ends up happening is people don't realize, or it's hard for them to accept that there's other people doing other things other than work.
The one thing, because they're just doing the one thing.
Yeah, because they're just doing the one thing, and they're like, they've been conditioned. I hate that. I kind of hate the word, but I kind of like it because it's a true word in the sense of you start learning this as a child, like.
Wake up, go to work, clock in, clock out, come home, go to bed, do it again.
And us as parents, like we could be mad at the programming of it all and say, oh, they don't teach our children, but neither do we.
No.
We don't teach our children anything other than working for someone else.
That's true.
So, but that's because society, like it's a cycle of it.
Yep, because the man wants to keep tabs on you. But I want to get back into sign language. I've been watching different TikTokers who are, interpreters and things like that.
Like even that, I think, is a way of getting back into it.
Yeah.
Even that, and seeing other people that need you to communicate to them like that. Like, I think it's dope. Like, because I think there's a couple times where you like, ooh, you gotten in the car and you're like, this person needed someone to talk to, and
Yeah.
they knew sign.
I was so
that's-
excited.
Like that shit's fucking dope because it's as common as it may seem, is really rare
Mhm.
for someone.
Very.
Because then too, you don't know. Maybe they don't let themselves be known that they're deaf because it's like maybe
Yeah.
to them it's embarrassing, or they just don't want to go through it.
No, and I'm laughing because I went to the dentist office, right? And there was an old man sitting next to me, and he was acting like he was deaf.
I remember this.
And I was just like sitting there and I was like, maybe he needs help, you know? So I spoke to him as well as I signed, you know what I mean? Like whatever. And he was like, oh, and he spoke to me and I was like, fool, then why are you acting like you're deaf? So then he tried to sign to me and it was all gibberish. I'm like, what are you?
It's kind of insulting.
And I was just like, wait, are you using ASL or are you using something else? No, this is ASL. Yeah, it is. I was like, you're on crack. I was like, I'm not helping you no more because I don't even know what the fuck
and
you're
you
talking
could
about.
you could have let your balls hang and been like, hey, like I study this actually.
Yeah, but I'm not that good at it, so I didn't want to be like,
No,
guess what?
But you also know, like, I think you could have called him out by
Yeah.
just being like, oh, really? Because I study ASL, like, for my career.
Uh-huh.
And he would have been like,
And I was just like, fool, what are you doing? Like, get the fuck
Stop.
out of here.
It's insulting. That's like, remember when Josh, when he was little, and he'd be like, oh, Dad, I can speak Spanish. Like,
Yep.
bro, that's not Spanish.
Yep.
That's actually kind of rude.
It's actually
Arriba.
Yeah.
like, nah, bro. Relax.
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 Ay,
Yo
ay,
quiero
ay.
Taco Bell. Like that.
But there's other things I want to learn. We can do a whole bucket list of things we want to do before we die.
We're going to do that next episode.
Yeah, I have a bucket
The bucket
list.
list episode.
Mm-hmm. And maybe the things that we have on that list, some of y'all know how to do. You can help us.
Huh. And there might be shit that we know how to do. Don't
Yeah.
ever fucking hesitate to hit us up. Like, hey, I got a question.
In
or I
my
got
mind,
this.
I'm like, I don't know how to do anything. So.
Knock it off. But any of the listeners, like, if you guys have suggestions, questions, anything you guys want to listen to us talk about, even if you want to be on a fucking podcast,
Uh-huh. Yeah, that'd be cool.
let us know.
Yeah.
You know, we appreciate you guys, and we can't do this without you listening. I mean, we can, but we'd be in denial and be like, we got billions of listeners. They're like, you have no listeners.
I don't know if the microphone caught that burp. That's my bad.
But yeah, next week then,
Next week, bucket list.
the bucket list episode.
Yes.
Let's do this.
It's going to be exciting. All right. So thanks for listening. We will talk to you guys next week.
Peace.